It was just another gray Wednesday in that smelly roadside diner. The kind of place that reeks of stale oil and lukewarm coffee, where no one expects anything from life, let alone a turnaround worthy of $1 billion inheritance. Clara, 28 years old, 3 kids to raise, rent due, and a stubborn smile on her face. She had been working there for over 3 years. She was the employee who arrived first and left last. The one who cleaned up drunk people's vomit without complaining. The one who always had a "good morning" stuck in her throat, even when the whole world seemed to want to screw her over. That morning had been shit since early on. The manager was complaining about the stock, a customer was nagging because the bread had too much margarine, and the sound of rain hitting the awning only made the air heavier. But it was in this miserable setting that he appeared, an old man. Just like that. An old man. He staggered to the counter, wearing worn-out clothes, with disheveled hair and an expression that mixed exhaustion with resignation. No one paid any attention to him. The waiters pretended not to see him. The cook frowned. And the manager was already preparing his line. "Are you going to order something or just stand there?" But before the ignorance could take over, Clara went over to him. With that same little smile she used to hide the chaos. "Good morning, sir, would you like a hot coffee to warm you up?" The old man took a while to answer. He scratched his chin. He looked at his wallet. He sighed. "Just a plain coffee. I can't spend much today, you know how it is." That's when she made the mistake that would change everything. Clara smiled. She picked up the cup. And poured the coffee into the saucer. "This one's on me today. No one should be cold like this. Simple. Quick. Without expecting anything in return." The old man thanked her with his eyes. Those tired, deep eyes that seemed to have seen war, bankruptcy, betrayal, and maybe even death. He sat in the corner of the diner and stayed there, quiet. Watching. While Clara continued her hellish routine, balancing plates, dealing with stupid truck driver jokes, and trying not to freak out about the bills that came to mind with every tray she served. But from time to time, she would return to the old man's corner. She would ask if he wanted more sugar. If his coffee was still hot. If he wanted something to eat. He always answered politely. And little by little, he began to tell her things. Random stories. Like when he was a fisherman in the south. Or when he saw the sea for the first time at the age of 50. Or how he thought the world was losing its kindness, that people were in too much of a hurry to notice each other. Clara listened. Without rushing. Without pretending. Without thinking that this old man was anything more than a lonely old man trying to kill time. And that was it. A conversation with no purpose. A cup of coffee given from the heart. A simple gesture that no one saw. Or rather, almost no one. Because the old man saw it. He saw everything. And in that feigned silence of someone just drinking coffee, he had already decided, she was different. Clara was the kind of person he had been looking for months. 1 in 1,000. 1 in 1,000,000. And that day, without saying a word, he got up. He left a coin as change, smiled slightly, and disappeared out the door, swallowed up by the rain and the rush of a world that didn't notice that a billionaire had just left. Clara went back to the kitchen, picked up another order, and went on with her life as usual. Little did she know that that old man was testing the world. And that she had just passed the test. The next day, Clara arrived for another shift at that crappy diner that smelled of stale fried food and morning defeat. But unlike yesterday, she arrived with an extra smile on her lips. Who knows why, maybe because of her conversation with the old man, maybe because for the first time in a long time she felt seen. But he wasn't there. Not in the corner by the window. Not at the counter. Not anywhere. He must have moved on, she thought, as she heated up the same watery coffee as always. Days passed. No sign of the old man. No note, no clue, no name. Just the memory of that conversation that seemed ordinary, but hammered in her head like a divine warning. And then the mental poison began. Clara started looking at every old customer who came in. One by one. Waiting, hoping, almost begging with her eyes. Is it him? And it wasn't. It never was. And the more time passed, the more it grew inside her, the feeling that something strange had happened there. She even asked the manager if the old man had left a note. Nothing. That's when doubt turned into anxiety. Anxiety turned into obsession. She started dreaming about the old man. She dreamed about him smiling, leaving a briefcase, or saying, "You passed the test." Crazy stuff. Stuff that people who are living on the edge and clinging to any crumb of hope do. Meanwhile, her life continued to be hell, rent to pay, her youngest son with a fever, and a power cut threatening to leave everything in the dark. Only now, there was something different. A hole. A silence. An emptiness. Because she knew, deep down, that old man wasn't just any old man. And what hurt the most, was having done good without expecting anything in return, and still wanting desperately for it to have a purpose. You can see the psychological damage. And as if his disappearance wasn't enough, the whispers began. The other employees laughed behind her back. There goes Clara waiting for poor Santa Claus to come back. Does she think she's got herself an old sugar daddy? She pretended not to hear. But it hurt. It hurt like hell. Because she didn't want money. She wanted confirmation. Validation. Proof that her kindness was still worth something in this rotten world. Until a week later, exactly 7 days after the coffee, a black car pulled up in front of the diner. Silent. Elegant. With tinted windows and an imported license plate. Clara saw it from inside. She thought it was a new customer. But the manager's eyes widened. A man in a suit got out of the back seat. And came in. With a briefcase. And the look of someone carrying news that would turn her life upside down. He walked up to the counter, looked directly at Clara, and said in a firm voice. "Is Miss Clara here?" She froze. As if time had frozen. The whole restaurant fell silent. The sizzling pan became a suspenseful soundtrack. "It's me." He opened the briefcase. He took out a white envelope. Inside, a document. A letter. And the beginning of the end of her miserable life. Clara stood there, her hands shaking and her heart pounding. The white envelope weighed as if it were filled with lead. Everyone was watching. The cook stood with the bread burning on the griddle. The manager was frozen. Customers pretended they weren't gossiping, but their ears were bigger than their credit card debt. She opened it slowly. Inside were two things, a handwritten letter, and an official document. The letter began simply. "Clara, you didn't serve me coffee. You gave me faith. I am Harold V. Heller. Businessman. Investor. Retired billionaire. And in recent years, I have dedicated my life to finding a person who still has humanity in a rotten world. You passed my last test. With a simple gesture, you reminded me that kindness still exists. That is why I am leaving you, my last company. With it, you will receive $7 million in cash, under your management, to use as you see fit. The only rule, never lose that heart, even when the world tries to rip it out of you. With love, Harold." Clara cried. She cried like a child. She cried until she knelt on the floor and forgot about the world. The manager choked up. The cook let the stove burn. And the sons of bitches who laughed behind her back, now wanted to be her friends. Days later, the diner was featured on TV. Waitress inherits fortune from mysterious billionaire. Her followers exploded. She received invitations to podcasts, interviews, and even a councilman wanted to take a picture with her. But Clara disappeared. She sold the diner. She bought a house with a yard. She enrolled her children in a good school. And she never had to ask for credit at the market again. But the best part? To this day, she continues to buy coffee for strangers. Only now, with a different look in her eyes. A look that knows the value of a simple gesture.